What if the founding of America wasn't merely a political separation from Britain, but a spiritual revolution that redefined human dignity through the radical assertion that rights are endowed by God rather than granted by governments? In Revolution, Eric Metaxas delivers a narrative history that reframes the American experiment as a moral awakening, proving that true liberty requires both civic courage and metaphysical conviction. This isn't merely another patriotic retelling with familiar heroes, it's an intellectually rigorous, emotionally resonant exploration of how faith, philosophy, and sacrifice converged to birth a nation unlike any other in human history. From the first sermon-infused narration, listeners are immersed in a world where ideas carried weight equal to muskets, and where the greatest battles were fought not just on fields, but in the hearts of men who believed they were accountable to something higher than kings. Perfect for fans of thoughtful historical nonfiction and stories where principle triumphs over pragmatism, this audiobook serves up atmospheric gravitas, relentless intellectual honesty, and a narrative whose journey from colonial discontent to constitutional covenant resonates with anyone who's ever wondered what makes freedom worth dying for. When Metaxas examines the convergence of Enlightenment reason and Protestant conscience among the founders, he expects ideological tension, not to discover their synthesis created a new political theology that placed individual conscience above state authority. But as he navigates Continental Congress debates and battlefield prayers, he realizes this revolution wasn't about power, it was about personhood. Metaxas masterfully avoids reducing the founders to secular rationalists or religious zealots. Instead, he crafts a narrative where faith and reason are complementary forces, where consent is rooted in natural law rather than social contract alone, and where liberty emerges from recognizing human beings as image-bearers rather than subjects. The audiobook narration amplifies this intellectual precision, capturing Metaxas's scholarly passion softening into reverent clarity, while primary sources are voiced with period-appropriate cadence that honors their era without caricature. You don't just hear history unfold, you feel the seismic shift of minds learning that some truths can only be secured when anchored beyond human authority. What elevates Revolution beyond typical founding narratives is its nuanced portrayal of American exceptionalism as moral responsibility rather than national pride. Metaxas isn't merely celebrating achievement, he's confronting how modern cynicism has obscured the spiritual foundations that made self-government possible, challenging the notion that democracy can survive without virtue. His argument evolves through acts of radical reciprocity with evidence, integrating theological texts with political documents without reductionism, setting intellectual boundaries that protect both historical accuracy and contemporary relevance, and defending the founders' complexity against critics who demand ideological purity. Supporting concepts add vital texture, Great Awakening revivals reframed as civic preparation, classical republicanism tested against biblical anthropology, even language itself rendered as a living system whose terms encode assumptions about human nature. Every interaction reinforces the book's core truth. In nations built on ideas, memory is maintenance, and attention is the only true patriotism. Even the rhetorical mechanics serve thematic depth, with historical parallels mirroring present challenges, and citation becoming metaphor for accountable truth-telling. For audiobook listeners, this production is an immersive exercise in civic recalibration. The narrator embodies Metaxas's evolving perspective with remarkable range, from academic authority to trembling conviction during human moments, while supporting voices are distinguished through vocal textures that honor historical diversity without anachronism. Sound design enhances atmosphere without overwhelming immersion. Distant church bells marking conceptual transitions, rain against study windows during vulnerable reflections, the hushed rustle of parchment syncing with breath during moments of synthesis, all anchor abstract stakes in sensory reality. Pacing mirrors the rhythm of revolutionary deliberation, deliberate during foundational arguments and reflection, then surging with urgency as historical crises collide with philosophical imperatives. Whether you're commuting through daily demands or sitting in twilight stillness, the audiobook creates a portable sanctuary where slowness feels sacred and presence feels like a gift. It's storytelling as embodied validation, transforming passive listening into active participation in a journey where understanding isn't about nostalgia, but about renewal. Press play, return to first principles, and prepare to believe that even in landscapes shaped by forgetfulness, hearts still find ways to remember. Your next essential read isn't waiting in partisan talking points. It's waiting in the brave, trembling choice to see your nation as both inheritance and obligation.